all of us agents. I know, I get it. We want to be perfect. We want to go 10 for 10. The reality is that that's not the case because. Hey there, welcome to my epic journey. This is Brandon DeVere. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and sharing your time with me. I do appreciate that. Here we are on the journey from 600 to 0 to 600 plus, and everything that falls in between. So today, kind of want to just get into a little bit of, I often say that, this is my favorite part about this, and it all kind of runs together because I do love a lot of things about, the agent attraction and shooting videos and things like that. Got another message on LinkedIn today. Brandon, I've been watching your videos on YouTube, been looking into Epique, want to find out more. It is a very consistent message that I do get. So thank you all for reaching out, letting me know. Hopefully you're reaching out to ask me directly about Epique and wanting to join in that way with me and go on this journey with me. However, I do get some that are agents that are joining joining us from other parts of the country that are not necessarily joining with me, but still a part of the growth. And so I'm very happy for that. And the other thing, what it does is it tells me that this works, right? A lot of people will be like, oh, what do I got to do? How do I had this question today was, how much should I pay? There's people are paying for podcasts. How much should I, pay for this, that, and the other thing? Really I don't think you should pay anything yet, right? Either if you're going to pay for something, pay to learn how to start to do it yourself, if that makes sense, right? Not necessarily like one of the best parts about this type of content is that it's documenting the journey, right? Like this is just a style. It's a style of podcast. I know there's other podcast videos out there that are much more produced than mine. They're just different styles, right? Those work as well. I don't know that one works more than the other. It just really depends. I get to get more quantity out. And quantity isn't always better than quality, but for the purpose of what I'm doing, as far as getting this out, is people seeing more of. I know it hasn't been quite day to day lately, but more people are having the ability to see, kind of pull the curtains back and see what this process is like, right? I just listened to a podcast. I'm not going to go too deep into it because I listened to it yesterday and I wanted to do an episode about it, but I didn't get to it, and I want to go back and listen a little bit more. But it basically just talked about, the things like we compare ourselves, and I've talked on here before about comparison is the thief of joy, and everyone has different circumstances, and it's very difficult to compare your growth to others. But I'm not trying to get you to compare your growth to my growth. I mean, you can if you want. Some will say your growth is doing much faster than mine, and others is doing slower. But I just want to give an actual account of because the challenge, especially with a company this early on, is you're going to see some growth that goes kind of crazy. Like maybe they didn't have successful growth before, but then they switch companies. Now all of a sudden the growth is going off the charts, or maybe they had a following. I look at Sam Rodriguez is the top agent in our company. Well, Sam has been at it. Like I can't compare myself to Sam. Sam has been at recruiting for 21 years. He's been built massive organizations, built companies, things like that, and it's tough to compare. Like I get to learn from him all the time, and I'm very grateful for that. But I can't compare and be like, oh man, I'm so much slower than you, because he started at an earlier time, and he's also starting this time at a different spot, right? So it's very difficult. You want to talk about, any type of sport, right? Any sport that you're talking about, if you just started, a year ago, as opposed to someone who started. I mean, I have hockey is on over in the corner. Unfortunately, the Knights are out, but like it would take me 3 years to probably learn how to skate before I could even have a stick in my hand, right? So if I'm getting upset that these guys are skating all around me, these guys are the pros. If I go out and try and score, like try and play, they're just going to smoke me. I shouldn't be able to be upset about that. But the getting back to, I kind of got off on a little tangent because I'm talking about being a pro, getting set up. Like you don't need a massive setup. I keep it this way on purpose. I know I kind of went all over the place on that one a little bit, but I want to tie it back into, like, you don't have to come out and be a pro right away. And I was talking to somebody today about recruiting. They actually work in a completely different industry. Went out to lunch with somebody today, and the the thing we talked about is if you are a sports fan, you'll understand it. Us just as in recruiting in general, a lot of us want to make it be like a fielding percentage in baseball. If you know what baseball is, fielding percentage, typically fielding percentages are very high. Like at like close, they do it in, but 1,000 is the highest it can be. A lot of players have a lot of defensive players in baseball have high 900s in their success rate, right? Their percentage, because there's rarely any errors. I mean, in considering how many times the ball gets hit to them, the errors are very few. So we want that as like a conversion rate. It's like, hey, we're agents. We as we're recruiting somebody, we want to go 10 for 10. And when we don't, every time we get worried about it and we get upset that we didn't get them every single time. And sometimes it's not exact. It's not, the conversion rate isn't exactly as the ball is hit to me. Did I field it or not? Like this could go on you can recruit for months, and you could actually lose a recruit that went to another company 6 months, a year, 2 years down the line, came back. So it's very difficult to even have that type of success or know that type of success, because people might not join right away. You don't go on one appointment and close them. Typically there's a lot of steps in between. But the reality is not fielding percentage, but batting average. So in baseball, batting averages tend to be very low. If you go 300, you bat 300, that means 30% of the time you are not even hitting a home run. You're getting on base without an error, without a walk. It's 30% of the time. So every 10 at bats, if you are getting on 3 times out of 10 at bats, getting hits in those scenarios, you'll be a Hall of Famer. Like that's massive. So a 30% it would make you a Hall of Famer. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to hit 3 of 10. But I'll tell you this, if you talk to 10 people in a month and you got 3 of them over to join, that would be massive. You would have a massive growth, or if you did 10 a week. So if you talk to 2 people a day and you had 3 join, if you had 12 agents join a week, that's 144 agents that you would have join. Is that right? 12, yeah, because you'd have 3 a week. The 3 times 4 is 12. At 12 times 12 months, you would have 144 agents in your downline, which would be pretty significant. And that's just the ones for yourself. That would be massive. It's really about getting the at bats and getting in front of people and knowing that some are going to they're not going to make the move, or they're not going to make it right now. They may never make the move. They may not like it at all. They may think, we have a scenario right now where we have a couple people that are bummed out because a group of people may not be making a move, which was initially thought that, because they might go for something completely opposite of what we were trying to do with them. What they were telling us is that, hey, this is what we want to do. This is how we want to build. But now something else came out of left field, which is not in alignment at all with what we were talking about. So it's very difficult to get, it's very easy to get down on yourself and worried that, oh man, what could I have done different? Need to do that. But the reality is it's 2 different things. Like the things we can't offer. So we can't worry about that. And so that's what I'm trying to say is that when you go out, I've talked about it before, and I talked about it again today with one of my agents, about building an empire. Brian Carruthers, massive legal shield guy, and he just talks about sorting versus convincing, and what you're doing when you're going 10, when you're getting those 10 appointments, and if you can convert 1 to 3 of those, it's great. If you're converting 1 to 3 out of those 10, what you're doing is you're sorting, and you're not trying to convince. As you're trying to convince, you're constantly trying. You're gonna have to keep trying to go over and over and over again. But so I just want to kind of start with that aspect, is that it's more like a batting average than it is a fielding percentage. And all of us agents, I get it. We want to be perfect. We want to go 10 for 10. The reality is that that's not the case, because a couple different things here. One, you have to find the right person. So as you're trying to find the right person, before you even get much of a conversation, you might not even know if they're the right person. So you have to get a person, then you have to discover if it's the right person. Then you have to discover, do you have what they need? And if you do, how well can you deliver it to them? And so if you can't hit all those things, then you might not be, it might not be a fit. You might get a person that you think would be an absolute amazing fit, and you get talking to them and it's just not, for whatever reason. And those are some of the ones that you kind of have to let go, or maybe not pursue as much. Or if something else, like talking today, something came out of left field and it seems like a great opportunity for them to go take, but it's also not in alignment but with what they were telling you that they wanted to do. So they may or may not take it. It sounds amazing when you put dollar signs and they start saying you're going to make $500,000 if we get X account for you. It might be perfect. I have zero. I'll be perfectly honest. If I got offered that same thing, I would have no interest. It was a lot of work to make $500,000, and it's not any work that can be replicated on its own. So the benefit of what I would rather do, so the benefit of doing the residual aspect of something like RevShare, what I would rather do is build up a $500,000, $500,000 RevShare organization, and let it repeat itself over and over and over again every year. Instead of, because with this other thing, like I said, why I wouldn't take it is because yes, I could make 500,000 doing that thing, but then next year I got to do that same exact thing and work exactly the same exact or just as hard. Then the next year just as hard, next year just as hard. But if I can put in the work now, get up to that 500,000, it's like a plane or like a rocket. I've heard this theory before. Like, it takes all of the energy to get it up and going. The plane goes down the runway, gets up in the air, and all of the momentum, once that momentum is up, they maintain that momentum and carry it, the rest of the way. But most of the work is done on that runway and on the ascent, right, as it starts to go up. But it doesn't have to keep doing runway over and over and over again. And that's what this offer for them is it's going to be a lot of work. So with that being said, that they may or may not take that offer. I have no idea. But sometimes something like that's going to come out of nowhere, and you're going to lose out on something like that. So just wanted to give people some reassurance there that there's no one out there going 10 for 10, like crushing it out or crushing every single time they go out. It's not 100%. It's not 50%. If you are getting somewhere like 50, 25, 50%, where you're consistent with that, 40, 50, 60, whatever it is, it's likely that you're not talking to many people. There's not many people in the RevShare world that are bringing over hundreds of agents. There are some. There absolutely are some. But the reality is most of them are not. So if you're bringing over 10 to 20 a year on your own, you'll see your actual RevShare, the whole organization, start to blow up as you can help people grow as well. So just want to leave you with that. It's not as easy as some may think, and I wanted to share that story with you because it is. I listened to Alex Hormozy yesterday, and he talked about, or a couple of days ago, and talked about entrepreneurship and how it's about getting beat up, a glimmer of hope, and then punched in the gut once again. So you're doing great. Keep it up. Like it's not easy, but if you continue to share the things that you believe in with other people, I have no doubt in my mind that you'll continue to crush it and have exactly what you're looking to get. So I will tomorrow. Not sure if I'll be back tomorrow. Again, trying to get a little more consistent. But I have 2 flag football games tomorrow, and then my dad is in town. I got to go pick him up tonight. He lands in about 4 hours, so he lands just after midnight. I got to go get him, and then he'll be here for about, I don't know, probably about 2 weeks or so, and we will go watch my daughter's graduation and do all that stuff, and that's where we're at. So I will see you on the next one. Have a great one.